Good morning from the UK. It's great to be with you all there in Lincoln, Nebraska. I'm Helen Swan and I'm the Executive Director and Founder of Chab Dai. And we are the organization that initiated the butterfly longitudinal research in Cambodia with 128 survivors of trafficking. It's unbelievable to think that that we've already finished our 10 years of research with these amazing survivors and have spent this time hearing their stories, their hopes, their fears. And as I reflect back on the 10 years and really what the catalyst was for this research, even in its hard times and in its good times as a research team and as an organization, we know that if we don't invest in understanding what's happening in the lives of survivors for the long term, we're never going to be able to truly develop appropriate programs and responses that take into account their voices and their experiences rather than our own perceptions and our own take on what we think that they need. And so I feel just so privileged that we've been able to do this over the years and to truly really invest in the lives. Our team invested so much of themselves as individuals as well as researchers with the survivor cohort that we've worked with over the 10 years. And we know that for many of those that we've spoken with, it has been unique for them to be able to have somebody who's dignified them and empowered them and kept their confidentiality while they've learned about their life after their experience of exploitation. And so it's great that Glenn is presenting the research on the research and many of the other insights of Butterfly and its impact and its understandings of the journeys of survivors over the last 10 years in Cambodia. And I think that the one thing that saddens me is that, but also is a sense of pride, that it was the original and only longitudinal research. But actually, how sad is it that even now there is such little investment in longitudinal research to help us understand the voices and the journeys of survivors in other countries around the world. And so I hope that that many of you will be inspired by this piece of research, that academics, that you will come alongside grassroots organizations to help them develop research programs that help us to ethically understand the voices and journeys of survivors, and that donors and other institutions will get behind the importance of longitudinal research rather than only funding one-off pieces of short-term research. And so that I know this would be the dream of the survivors themselves. We know that many of them have spoken about the importance of this piece of research in their own lives and actually as a part of their own healing journey. And I really just want to encourage us to develop partnerships and collaboration so that grassroots organizations and academics can develop true partnerships in this phenomenal research that would be longitudinal and understanding more critically what are the needs from the survivors themselves before we even start developing and designing programs for them. As a movement, I think this is something that we failed our survivors in. So many movements have grounded themselves on a foundation of research, and many of it longitudinal research. And as a movement, I think that we have to take responsibility of saying, we've not done this. And so we really need to step up to the plate as we look back on 2 decades of being a movement and a decade of having the butterfly longitudinal research to move into the future with a new determination that we are going to hear the voices and the recommendations from survivors themselves in their own healing journey, and to help us understand the healing journey for others. Thank you.
So, Glenn, what is the Chab Dai Butterfly Project? Tell us a bit about it.
Okay, well, the Chab Dai Butterfly Project started in 2010. So it's a longitudinal research project that's looking at the survivors of, listening to the survivors of sex trafficking in Cambodia. So the research that has been done is then collated and collected, and then the data is analysed, and then the information is then developed into papers that will hopefully impact policy and programs.
And what was the motivating factor then? What did this come out of?
Well, it really came out of the NGO community itself recognising that they needed to see what would happen with their clients after they had been in their programs. So they wanted to see what happened over a period of time.
Yeah, it sounds quite specialised to be looking at that sort of length of time. What makes it particularly unique?
Well, it's unique because most longitudinal research projects would be done by a university, but this was done by the NGO community. It was done by Chab Dai. Chab Dai is a coalition of organisations working to address trafficking. So it was a collaboration between 14 different organisations.
Wow.
And it focused on 128 participants originally who were involved, who were clients who were being followed.
And what was the fall off rate? Did you end up with that same number?
Yeah, no. Obviously, you would expect there to be some fallout because people are moving on, people are moving away, and things like that. Towards the end, there were probably about 90 participants that were still involved.
But still a significant number.
Yeah, particularly significant when you think that the clients were from very chaotic environments.
Yeah.
And so trying to maintain connections with them through mobile phone and so on was quite challenging, but they managed to do a good job.
So a 10-year project, that's quite an undertaking. What were the advantages of having such a timescale? Well,
one of the things is that most research is done where there's a snapshot of time. It's very it's just one time, and then you look at the data, and then it says, well, what's happening in that particular moment. But with this, we were able to follow them over a period of time. And also, perhaps one of the most significant things about this project was that there was a very strong relationship between the clients and the researchers. So there was that added to the trust, and so then they were able to really be honest about where they were. In fact, some of the clients would say that they felt more comfortable talking to the researchers than anybody else, even their mother or husband or anything. So
that's amazing. There must have been major ethical concerns in a project like this. How did you navigate those?
Well, of course, one of the challenges is that you always have to give people choice with this kind of project, because some of the things that people are saying may be things that they feel that they don't want anybody else to know. So we had to make absolutely sure that the data was kept confidential, and the clients, I think over time they realised that any information that they were providing wasn't being given to anyone else. So that was really reassuring for them. We did make sure that the ethics committee of the ministry, the government Ministry of Health,
Right.
they actually approved everything, and we had to submit papers to them every year for them to approve.
Okay.
And then also there is the United Nations interagency program on trafficking. They have a research ethics protocol, which we then also followed as well. So
Right.
we made sure that it was done carefully, but mostly it was about making sure that people had the opportunity, whether they wanted to speak or not. They didn't have to speak, and so sometimes they chose not to.
Right, fair enough. And what were the results?
Okay, well, later on you're going to hear from two of the senior research team in Cambodia. They're going to share some of the results with you.
I'm really looking forward to that, because this sounds an amazing project, and I've known a little bit about it along the way, so I'd love to know more about that. But how can people learn about what's coming out of the project? How's the information getting out there?
Well, we have over the years, almost right from the beginning really, that we've been able to share the process, the methodology, the results with a number of international, national and regional conferences, and also sharing specifically with the organisations that, those 14 organisations, the information about their particular clients. So, and that obviously was confidential. Some of that information they needed to hear, because they might need to make changes to their programme. So on that level it's very important. We did develop a number of technical reports, and those have been published on www.chabdai.org/butterfly.
Right.
And those are all available to download for free. And I know that they've been used by a number of organisations already, but we realised that wasn't necessarily what was needed for the peer review kind of research level, and so we've also, but we've been delighted to recently hear that Dignity journal is now willing to publish 6 papers in a special edition, which should be coming out probably the beginning of 2021. And then also another journal called the Journal of Therapeutic Care is also going to be doing a series over 1 year, so every quarter, so four issues, and that will also be available. Both of those are open access, which means that anyone can access them without having to pay, which was really important for us that happened. So it's at lots of different levels we've been able to provide support and information for people who are interested in it.
So you must be pleased with that sort of
really
opportunity
pleased.
for people to get hold of that.
Yeah, and also hope much better than having it spread out over a long period of time.
So one final question: what next?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think we're very keen to see other networks and organisations explore doing longitudinal research projects, because we feel like that they can be done, and they are really beneficial for people to learn about how to look after their clients. They're also so for that one, if anyone's interested in doing longitudinal research with clients, I'd be very happy to connect with them. So my email is Dr. Glenn Miles, that's GLENNMILES @gmail.com. And also, if people are interested in doing prevention, longitudinal prevention research, then I'm really interested in supporting them as well. So I think one of the things as well that I'm really excited about is we want to develop training materials for children in high school that will help them to prevent them from being trafficked. So this would be stories that would be based on some of the stories that have been told to us by the clients, and they themselves said that they were excited that their stories could be used to help others. So
that must be quite special, isn't it? If that feeling that your story can actually help someone else.
And it's like it's like this particular group advocating for help for others that are in their position. So I think that's really wonderful. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. Dr. Glenn Miles, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Hi, everybody. Today I'm in Wales, and I'm very happy to introduce my colleagues in Cambodia. So we have Vutheary and Channtha, and they're both senior researchers in the Chab Dai butterfly longitudinal research project, which is now in its 10th year. They're going to present to you today 10 of the top findings. Okay, so number one, Theary, would you like to share with us number one?
Okay, yeah, thank you, Glenn. The deep trust participants have toward the research team has led to richer and more authentic interview over the years. The quote from this finding is that there are many children who like the participant in our butterfly research that said beside them. Personally, I like it very much because we have a lot of chance to say or share what we never tell others. But when I meet with you, I can tell you, and you not only listen to me, but you also bring my idea to practice. This is what I think, and I am very grateful for this.
Great, thank you. Channtha, would you like to share number two?
Another finding is about male participants staying in the shelter. They are experiencing emotional and physical violence during their stay. So there are a number of reasons, including bullying, racism, and even being poor or richer than the others. So one of the respondents gave a recommendation that boys in shelter need to be separated along age and majority line, because the physical, mental, and visual majority is severely different between 12 and 16 years old males. This is the quote from one of the male participants in 2015. He's saying that at first staying in the shelter was easy because we were the same age and we respect each other. But the trouble comes when the big boys came.
Now we'll have number three, Theary.
Finding number three, on top of the stigma against this cohort within the community, NGOs have unintentionally create a stigma against the children and youth they work with. This being that because of these respondents' associations with the NGOs and living at the shelters for years on end, the community they have been reintegrated into see them as being promiscuous. Okay. And then with the quotations from the top 10 number three, saying that participants have raising up that friends at school made me feel unhappy because they mock me and say bad words about me. I feel they were discriminated against me because they know that I used to live in the shelter. They say that the shelter children were sexually exploited and raped until they got pregnant without husband.
Channtha, would you like to share with us about finding number four?
Yeah, the finding number 4 is about the lack of the preparations for the participant to reintegrate back into the community. So it creates a shock for them when they are moving back to the community, because they were not well prepared with opportunity around them. So sometimes the participant also feel isolated when they are back at home, because it's kind of new for them in the community, but at the same time they also feel abandoned because they are no longer associated with NGO or center they are staying with. The quotation from the participant is that all organizations, if they help the children, please help them to become successful and do not abandon them. In addition, please do not think that those children who have a job can stand strong. That is not right. On the other hand, they have to visit them and their families to know the realities of their situations. They have to follow up with them often and use polite and sweet words to them.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Theary, would you like to tell us about number 5?
Finding number 5. There's a heavy lack of NGOs working with the family of the participant while they are in the shelter before and during reintegration. So this is the 3 steps that the participant feel that the NGO have lack of working with them. So the first one is about feeling undeserving of all of this service given to them while they are in the shelter, and wishing that their family could have access to the service as them too. The second one is about not working with the family before the reintegration process, lead that aforementioned shock and continuing uphill battle of stable livelihood during and after the integration process. The third one is about many participants were forced to quit school to work solely after they were reintegrated to provide financial support for their family. Yeah, this is the quote that we got it from a female participant in 2016 that she said, I act as a princess. I do not do anything at the center. After eating, I just sleep, and it is easy for me, and it's not like other places. People need to work hard and do not have enough food to eat.
Okay, very good. Channtha, would you like to do number 6?
The finding number 6 is about the lack of proper integration protocol, oversight in the stability of the family, and limited community resources. The participants have been forced to move where the opportunity are, this being in or out of the country multiple times a year, or without proper social support, this increasing their vulnerabilities to reintegration. So almost no participant describe staying with the same family unit over 3 or 4 years.
Okay, thank you. Theary.
Finding number 7. Furthermore, because of limited reintegration protocols and inattentive social worker, the participants don't have access to social capital to overcome compounding trauma after their case has been closed. For example, poverty struggle, violence in the community, death of the loved ones. These all are the problems. And the butterfly researcher have heard many respondents say to them that they are willing to meet with the research team over the years because they are the only people who will actively and confidentially listen to their story and emotions. Sometimes I ask him, her husband, how and if he consider me. I asked him if he thinks that I have no heart, no idea, and no brains, and that is why I am able to receive whatever he does. Nowadays, does he know how I feel? I asked him if he knows about how I got sick and how our son got sick. He did he understand how I survived? He said nothing. Then he said with the root word that I and saying that I did not have a brain. I didn't know anything. And he told me not to talk to him because I do not have brain. I am like a dog. I do not know how to think. So this is the quotation from one participant that talking about how her husband treated her and using very bad word with her, like insulting word toward her, like I mean compare her to a dog brain who never think of anything and don't know how to think about anything at all.
Thank you, Theary. Channtha, would you like to share about number 8?
Yeah. Number 8 is about the families and the mothers of the participants who have been reintegrated. They deeply seeking for them to be the participants to be taken back to the NGO shelter program, because the reason why they want their children, the participants, to go back to the shelter, because they know that the shelter program can provide a better care for the children, because they they believe NGO have enough resources while the family cannot provide the care for the children because of instability of their livelihood. They are poor in the provinces. However, the NGO program has its times, like for each participant to stay in the program. So children has to move to stay back with the family. So this process left the participant most of the time feeling unwanted at home and can't go back to the program at the same time. So this is kind of a heavy feelings that the participant experience as well.
Okay, thank you very much.
This is one of the example that one participant who is 18 years old citing about the confusions when his mother did not want him to come home from the shelter facility. Research team noted that his parents did not seem to care greatly for their son's well-being. When he was eventually reintegrated back into his family, he was accepted with reluctance.
Yes. Okay, thank you,
With
Channtha.
hesitation.
Theary, would you like to share finding number 9?
Thank you, Clarence. The finding number 9. This finding was happened when we the research team at that time start to work on another thematic paper called Pathway Through Re-Exploitation, and then we found out that in 2017 when we do that thing, we found that 23 out of 64 female participants who had stayed in the shelter program and then subsequently reintegrated back into the community have been or are currently in re-exploited situation. Okay. Yeah, and then this is the quotation that we got from the participant. Early in 2013, the participant disclosed to the butterfly team that the real reason she returned to work in the karaoke or KTV establishment was for sex work. She stated that She was deeply disappointed with the circle's reintegration financial support.
Okay, thank you, Theary. And then the final one is finding number 10, Channtha.
The finding number 10 is about the success of the participant because in the beginning of 2018, the team start to do the assessments on our participants from the information we conducted the IDI interview, and we as the team try to analyze about their accessibility, to understand about their life, and also based on the definition from the participant about the successful life also. So at the time there were 20 participants were accessed, and we found out there are only 5 participants show the conditions about their life, like they are having a stable livelihood. So one of the quotation from the participant is that she mentions about the vocational training she received, and she also recommends some of her ideas toward the vocational training program. She stated like this: to me, I think that if they want to provide skill for women, they should allow us to study for the whole day. Please don't ask us to learn how to sew bag for half day and salon half day. To make the skill helpful, they should focus on the skill training and conduct specific training.
All right, thank you. That's really helpful. Thanks for sharing those those findings with us. So would you like to tell us where we can find out information to get more thorough information on those reports? Theary?
I think I can find everyone can find all of the butterfly report as well as this top 10 finding from Chab Dai website. So you can go to www.chabdai.org/butterfly. Then you will see the our resource, the library center there. So you can download any report from that.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, guys. Really appreciate your help today, and thanks for doing that with us.